astronauts. Welcome to the Digital Galaxy Podcast. I'm your pilot, Justin.
And I'm your co pilot, Paul. Buckle up because today in episode 35, we welcome back a special guest, Squires of Clero. And today we're discussing data and privacy. First of all, welcome, Stephen. Welcome back to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me again.
Absolutely. And Justin, also, welcome back.
Hello.
So today, like I said, we're going to talk about data and privacy and everything that kind of goes along with it. So first of all, Stephen, I just want to ask, how do companies collect data? Obviously you have to sign up for a website or social media site or anything like that to do so. So how do they honestly collect data?
Right. Well, Paul, it's good that you bring that up. It's a common misconception that most people have that you have to sign up to a site for the data collection to occur. Um,
Hmm.
Surely, like that allows for more data collection, but um, any website or maybe application on your phone or tablet can transiently collect data simply from your interaction with the application or website. So things like communication information, like IP addresses,
Hmm.
the kind of web browser you're using, your operating system, just general information like that. Your web browser just kind of leaks this information as you use the internet and surf the web. Um, and this is just something that's just part of the the communication that happens, just standard, right? And you could take steps to mitigate that if you like, but for the most part, most people don't go through that trouble, and that information is just kind of freely shared without your consent, right?
Hmm.
Um, Beyond that, signing in, of course, there's going to be long, end user license agreements that, of course, nobody has the time, or the
No.
lifespan to read and
Except for
Never.
Jack
understand.
Foley.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, he does. Well, I'm hoping that ours aren't going to be that terribly long when we get the final versions cut. But yeah, those horribly long agreements that you're basically selling your data soul essentially, and they can do whatever they like and all that kind of stuff. Um, so there's hidden danger there, right? If you're not
Mhm.
completely aware. But yeah, back to like how they're doing it. Like I said, your web browser just kind of leaks information. And as you use online social networks, things like that, every time you interact with the web page, type in something, click on something, that's information that they can store and track. There are tons of different ways that they track your use of just about everything that you do online, and that can be used for whatever purposes they like.
Yeah, and like you said, unknowingly for the first most part, like even when you do sign those or agree to those terms, like I've honestly known reason, like we talked about, but like every app I feel asks for certain permissions on your phone or tablet or
Mhm.
whatever.
Even
Yep.
corresponding with
So
other apps as well.
right, yeah. So now that we have an idea of how they gather it, can you tell us why companies would collect that sort of data?
Sure. For the most part, it's financially motivated. I would say that's primarily why it happens. Um, there are some actors, some bad actors on the internet that are doing things like phishing, where they're misrepresenting the app or site that they're presenting to the user and gathering information for malicious purposes like identity theft and things like that. But for the most part, the large corporations and so on and so forth, they're doing it for financial gain, to to either learn large patterns, of user behavior in order to make financial decisions, make financial moves, or stuff like that,
Hmm.
or directly monetizing the information they're gathering about you to sell to third parties, for advertising purposes. You name it. Could be anything. Anything that people will pay money for. I'm sure that they've done that.
That makes
Absolutely.
sense. So, I mean, how exactly does the data collection affect a specific user's privacy?
Right. So, yeah, the data collection. It all just depends on what data has been shared, right? So if
Yeah.
if it's just simply, they know your IP address, all that kind of stuff. Well, with an IP address, you can generally tell within, I would say, a neighborhood or so where someone's located physically,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, and that's just when just using a website,
Hmm.
and that's just everyday stuff, right?
Yep.
So they know that. So I would say most people might be alarmed just to know that. But beyond that, when you actually sign up and you do agree to these lengthy terms, these end user license agreements and so on and so forth, you're giving up way more rights than just the transient information you might be sharing with any website, such as your IP address. You could be giving up rights to say what you type in, your speech, images that you post to the site, you name it. It could be could be anything depending on the terms, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. I do have a question. How I guess do how does a company like Clearo, how do they tackle data and privacy? What makes them different, I guess, from a Facebook or a Google when it comes to that?
Right. Well, I've mentioned this before, and that Claire is a privacy-minded platform, and we're looking to offer a different kind of experience to our users, and essentially, we're not just looking to find the next dollar from whatever information we can get out of you, essentially,
Hmm.
out of the user, right? We want to be able to one, be very transparent about exactly what information we gather from users and what we do with it. And I think that's a huge step from just about every social networking platform that exists today. Uh,
Absolutely.
um, Transparency is certainly not something you find with Facebook. We have found out, through documentaries and things like that, some of the links that they go through to use the data for even you know psychological manipulation of their end users. So obviously, Claro is not going to be doing that. We're not looking to manipulate people. We want to be open, transparent, honest about how we're using the information, and give you the opportunity to decide that you don't want us to use the information in whatever ways that you choose. So, and as I mentioned before, the monetary component. If we do sell information, we only do that at the with the user's permission, right?
Yeah.
And we
Hmm.
share the proceeds of that sale with the user directly. So
Which is the coolest thing in the world.
yeah, yeah.
Well,
Absolutely
guys,
is.
I think that really about wraps it up for this episode. I mean, we covered quite a bit.
Yeah, thank you, Stephen, again for coming on the show. Really appreciate it.
Hey, thanks again
Of
for having
course,
me.
Absolutely. Well,
anytime,
guys,
man.
don't forget to follow our channels on Twitter, YouTube, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and iTunes. You can also find this episode in the written form on our website, digitalgalaxypodcast.com. This episode was created by Clearo, a social media app where you are in charge of your data and community. Check it out at clearo.app. Thanks for coming along on our journey, and we'll see you guys in the next one.
Digital Galaxy Podcast runs on Anchor. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. So let me explain. First of all, it's free. Second, there are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. So download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started today.